Good morning, everyone. You don't have to say good morning back. It's okay. Okay, so we have a great block this morning. We're going to start out with, back by popular demand, Andrew Shotland, who is going to talk about, all searches going local. And it was originally something about directories being dead. Question mark. So we changed that? Okay. And then we've got a great block this morning, so that'll be followed by a case study from our friends at Webb's Planet, and then Neil Polachek will follow with his Think Like an App presentation, which I think you're all going to enjoy. So anyway, let's get started. Andrew, why don't you come on up?
Thank you. Thank you, Charlie, and thank you, Lynn, and Oscar, and everyone else for inviting me here again. One of the things I really love about this show is you get a chance to meet, I get a chance at least to meet people from different countries that I never would have gotten a chance to talk to. So all the people I've met over the last 48 hours, it's been really great getting to know you guys. You're all very strange and interesting. So all searches going local. I do SEO for a lot of sites that have local content, trying to get local customers. I thought I'd talk today about how we look at SEO as not just a consumer acquisition channel, but also an advertiser acquisition channel. Because as I was telling, I think, Neil this morning, the funniest thing, the most ironic thing to me about the local search industry is that you guys are selling marketing services to SMEs, and you're the worst at marketing. So it's very ironic. So in 2007, there was a company called Marchex. I think they're still around. They do basically lead fulfillment, lead generation for like Yellow Pages companies to get more leads to their advertisers. And they spent a lot of money on paid search to get phone calls ringing. And they also bought a lot of websites to get SEO, free Google traffic to basically pay for those calls. And so they owned sites like yellow.com, and they owned like 100 zip code sites called 100411.com and things like that. And they were getting millions of people to their advertisers every month basically for free until one day they weren't. And that was in 2007. And they, one morning I got a call from someone at Marchex and they said, hey, can you meet us in San Francisco tomorrow for lunch? We're going to fly down from Seattle. It's about a 2.5-hour plane ride, and we want to take you out to lunch. And I was like, sure. And this is very early in my career as an SEO consultant. And while at lunch, they said, can you help us fix this problem and get this traffic back? And if you can do it, we'll pay you $90,000. And I hadn't had a client that big before. And so I quickly wrote up a contract on my computer. I made them digitally sign it before we got the check. And we had a deal. And right before they were leaving, I said, by the way, why did you call me? How did you even know I existed? And they said, we searched for local SEO and you were number one. So we figured you must know what you're doing. In fact, I didn't really know what I was doing. I just happened to buy a good domain at the time. I got a lot of links and I happened to rank number one for local SEO without really trying very hard. And so by spending about $12 on a domain, writing a bunch of blog posts, and a little monthly fee on hosting, I made $90,000. For not doing much. It was pretty good ROI. No, yes, exactly. So you guys are like Marchex in that you're trying to generate leads for these small businesses, these great tailors in Vietnam. And so they're also looking for help, right? Just like Marchex was. But there's this big, ugly monster between you and your customers called Google. And Google has been getting bigger and bigger and bigger every year. They've been picking your pocket. They've been picking your customer's pocket. And in fact, if you talk to anyone in this industry in the States, they would say that they are increasingly making out with your customers, going direct to your customers. In fact, I believe it was Joe Walsh who said to me at Yext Onward 19 last week in New York, he said, I believe in 3 years, the reseller channel will be dead to Google. They will get rid of us because they want to go right to the tongue. So why is this happening? So this is Google stock chart. you know, it's looking okay over here, until over here. They hired a new CFO from Wall Street. They changed their name to Alphabet. They did all this financial engineering, and their stock price started to crank up. At the same time, they started launching all these innovations in the Google local area, Google Maps ads, local service ads. They started iterating on Google My Business features. It's not the only thing that drove the stock price up, but up until that point, the local part of Google was probably the biggest untapped monetization opportunity, and search monetization was maturing. And so they went all in on local, and you guys have probably all seen this. Ads pop up everywhere now in local. And actually, it's interesting. You can see their stock price is pretty flat over the last year or so. That means more ads are coming. More ads taking over more real estate in Google. And so it kind of feels in the SEO world, in the local search world, in the world, that time is running out for us. Google is taking over everything. They're taking all the money, they're taking all the customers, and you know, it is gloom and doom, right? And everyone's like, well, why are you even bother? Why do we get up out of bed, right? And I think there's actually a reason for hope. Google really sucks at personal service. Anything involving a human being, Google is horrible at. They will refuse to solve things with people. They solve things with algorithms. When you solve things with algorithms, the little guy inevitably gets crushed or doesn't get what they need. And so you guys, presumably, are much better at dealing with human beings. And that's part of the way you're going to win. But you have to work with the gorilla. You have to figure out how to get all the crumbs from the gorilla, because they can't eat all the crumbs. And you probably, I mean, wouldn't you, if someone's looking to hire you, wouldn't you want to rank here? Wouldn't that probably be a good thing? If I was like, how to build a website, shouldn't you show up here? If I were a restaurant and I were wanting to market my restaurant around here, wouldn't I respect this guy right here? Not just these guys, but if that were you, wouldn't I be like, oh, maybe I'll trust you with my money because you actually can rank there. You must be good. Because if you can't, well, I don't know if you're any good. The problem we see with brands is all these channels that people are comfortable with, they're kind of predictable. I can pay money in and get money out. Paid search, display, email, paid social. This is what brands spend all their time and money on. And SEO always gets the short shrift because it's this weird thing. Weirdos like me do it. Real marketers don't do it. And we see this big and small companies. It gets no respect. We work with a brand you've heard of. It's a global brand. I am their SEO budget, like some of my time. Tell them to call back. They spend, I believe, about $50 million a year in paid search, and 50 cents the equivalent in SEO. And yet, half of their revenue comes from SEO, Google-driven organic traffic. But SEO, when it works, it doesn't always work, but when it works, it actually is the best channel because it's virtually free. It requires some investment, but that works out to free over time. And it ends up subsidizing every other channel. It makes it so you can spend $50 million in paid search because the, what is it, the amortization, or I don't know, you have it all together, the average cost goes way down. And when it tanks, it ends up killing your business because suddenly the margins go way down. So SEO is this like thing that everyone hates, wants to ignore, but is critical. So what's happening in SEO world? This is a US-based marketplace site. They don't have any locations. It's like, hey, find a service provider. We can get you one in Bangladesh. We can get you one in Phoenix. And this is their rankings. It doesn't matter what these bar graphs are, just their rankings. You can see in March of 2018, the rankings went down. And they called us and like, what happened? Our rankings went down. And we looked at what happened. And this is those same keywords that were measured in that previous graph, except the presence of local packs. And what we can see is the presence of local packs went way up. They weren't there before, and now Google has decided these searches that this site should rank for had high local intent. The way it works is when Google will put up Google search results are an auction. All the different things, features in those search results bid for a place in theory. And then if a certain element gets enough bid, then it gets put up there. And what was happening is Google would test local results for different searches. And if a lot of people clicked on those local results, that was a sign that maybe they should put more local results there. And that's how it works. And so Google started putting local results everywhere. And part of that, I believe, also was the monetization drive driven by that stock price graph. Because what's happening is national results are very easily serviced by ads. I can get to Amazon through an ad and just go click on an ad and get there. But local results, like finding a plumber or a lawyer or whatever, because they're not all advertising, it's much more critical that Google has their local pack there so someone can find the guy near them. So that's kind of what's happening at scale. And so local SERPs are everywhere. A SERP is a search engine result page. This is a search for mattresses, and you see ads. It's a quote-unquote national search, right? You get all these ads. Casper, which is a national brand. But if you scroll down a little bit, you see a local pack on mobile and desktop. And if you scroll down a little bit more, you see what we call localized organic, meaning there's national companies that have a local page showing up, like a Yelp page. So Yelp shows up here a lot. And this is where, right now, where directories have to play if they want to get organic traffic. And there's still a lot of traffic there, even though it's not at the top. Products like charcoal, garden soils, milk, these are all local queries now show local results, and you can optimize to show up for milk if you're selling milk. Searching for a car brand shows local results. You get the manufacturer page, here's everything about this car, but inevitably it'll show pages where you can go get access to a dealer and transact or make an appointment. This kind of shows how Google's local algorithm is a little out of control. This was a shooting that happened like a year and a half ago. Thousand Oaks is a town in California. Someone got shot. Thousand Oaks shooting, and Google was showing a shooting gallery because its local algorithm is still a little whacked. They've underinvested in their local algorithm, which is why it's much easier to game. And so they're trying to force local stuff into every type of search query, even horrible things like this. And as everyone's been talking about, this is even a local SERP. So you should use some company to get your data in there, make sure when someone asks for where the dry cleaner is, that they know your location. And we actually don't spend a lot of time trying to optimize for voice search because it's just search. The things where we see voice search having a problem is when the system like Google or Siri doesn't understand the name of your business, which happens far less. It happened a lot more 2 or 3 years ago, but now they're pretty smart about it. So in my opinion, 99% of all search results over the next few years are going to be localized, in my opinion. And Google My Business is a big part of that, but there's a lot of other things you can do around Google My Business because Google My Business isn't the only part of it. And you have a great business controlling or manipulating Google My Business for your clients, but you have just as good a business doing all the things around it to try to get quote unquote free traffic. And you should be, in my opinion. So let's just talk quickly about GMB. It started out as kind of a glorified Yellow Pages. They added some bells and whistles, so I guess it became like a cool kind of Yellow Pages. That's what you think of as cool. And now it's a crappy picture of a one-man band. They're trying to do everything. Google is trying to shoehorn as much functionality into Google My Business as they can, so you never need to go to a website. Not your website, not your customer's website. So they've added all this stuff. You can transact on it. Have people seen Google Duplex? That's kind of a cool thing. It's an AI-driven, it'll call a restaurant and make a reservation for you without a human being ever touching it. It's kind of freaky. So Google My Business has a lot of functionality. They're going to keep adding to it, which is great for guys like you because that means someone needs to figure out what to do with this stuff for their customers. We have a very good business doing nothing but Google Posts, which is like a little post you can put on a Google My Business page for a car dealer. And we generate a lot of revenue for them on a very cheap service. So there's a lot of little things you can do in GMB to take advantage of that for your clients. It doesn't really help you get stuff to your site, though, because it's in the way. And what's happening is multi-location brands are getting it. They're being aggressive because they're losing the e-commerce query revenue to the ads. And so they need the local revenue. So this is a real data chart from a real multi-location brand we work with who just launched a local pages product, like mattress in city type pages across thousands of locations. And look what happened. This is the amount of traffic to their site. It really had a good ROI. And what they basically launched is a glorified Yellow Pages site for their own brand. And so they're doing what Yelp is doing, except for themselves. And it's working. So you're competing with those guys. And even smaller companies, this is a multi-location attorney in the States. They basically have the equivalent of an attorney Yellow Pages for themselves on their site because they have good SEO help. They understand how to use this stuff. No, we do they knew what they were doing long before. We helped them on one little thing. But especially in the verticals where there's money, at least in the US we see, the small guys are getting very good at SEO and taking real estate from guys like you and Yelp. So this data is a little specious. It's from a company called SEMrush, but I think directionally it's kind of right. So you're kind of like, well, there must be no traffic for directories now. But there still is. There's a ton of traffic. So I don't believe these numbers, but SEMrush estimates that Yelp gets 200 million people a month from Google in US. I don't believe that, but let's say it's high. What's that? 278, yeah, I don't believe it, but that's what they say, so I put it there. TripAdvisor, 200. YelpPages.com, 20 million. I actually think that's low. A few years ago, they were getting about 60 million people a month. Angie's List and HomeAdvisor and Thumbtack, which are home service verticals, 5 to 10 million people a month. This is all, so let's say even if this is half right, it's still a lot of traffic coming from non-local pack clicks. So there's still a lot of traffic, and in fact, you're competing, your competition are these guys in Google. It's not Google anymore, it's just fighting for share with these guys. And you should be able to fight anybody in your industry and kick their butt, right? So how does SEO work? At a high level, it works with what we call accessibility. So basically making it easy for a machine to understand your website, what's on it. Content, so if you're trying to rank for, I don't know, dry cleaner, you have pages about dry cleaning in a city, let's say. Links from other sites to your site was kind of the innovation that Google created at the beginning of its search engine that made it work better. Links are kind of like a vote. If you link to me, I must be good in a way. And then this fuzzy thing called engagement, meaning if I see your brand in a search result, I'm more likely to click on it. If I'm looking for a mattress and I type your brand plus mattress, that's a signal that maybe I'm relevant for mattresses to Google and I might show up in mattress queries. And then when I click on your site, do I stay on it, or do I click back to the search result and click on something else? Things like that, which are very hard to measure, but we know Google's using those kinds of metrics. And at a high level, this is how you rank well. You kind of put this all in a recipe, you keep iterating on it, and you just keep doing it. And it tends to work in general. So let's talk about common problems. I'm going to try to keep this relatively simple because I know you're all not product managers or developers, and SEO can be kind of technical. So hopefully you can take some of these terms and go back to your teams and go, what's up with this? Don't worry that you even understand it. Just say, Andrew told me to ask you about this and see what's going on. So, David, this is the slide I was telling you about. So I always tell clients, if you guys used your own websites, I wouldn't have a job. No one uses their own website. So as an example, we did a project with David and his team, and one of the first things I was like, hey, what's up with these pages? You have a lot of these. If you have a lot of these, Google is not going to rank you well, because why do they want to send users to a site that doesn't work? You guys have been building your websites for years, some of you. I bet there's some of you who have stuff from the year 2000 on your website that still works, that no one's seen in years, but it still works. When I first started consulting, I did a project for a big newspaper in the States, the New York Daily News, and it was about 2007 or 2008, and I found their entire site from 1996 still worked. I could click around on their site and get to it. So having all these old kind of cruft on your site can hurt SEO. This is hard to read, but we just did a big project for Home Advisor in the States. They had a big duplication problem, meaning they had like 10 different pages for maid service in Denver, Colorado. You should only have one page for your maid service in Denver, Colorado. Having multiple pages that are essentially the same thing confuses Google. This is a big site we just did a work for. They have 277 million URLs. That's a lot of URLs. That's probably the second biggest, maybe actually only the third biggest site we've worked on, 277 million. But only 600,000 of those URLs get traffic from Google in a year, meaning 270 million of those URLs are useless. And Google is spending time on useless stuff, and you don't want them. You shouldn't have that. You've got to get rid of all your useless stuff. It makes the good stuff better and easier for Google to see. Having old domains. This is, again, sorry to beat up the local search guys, but this is an old domain they had just sitting around that still worked and was basically a duplicate of most of their site. That can hurt SEO, so you had to get rid of that thing. Technology is your enemy. Your developers want to do the new shiny thing. They want to build your website in this new fast technology that's easier to build, looks better, whatever it is. And we love those guys because this is what happens when you do that without thinking about the SEO. You kill your SEO. I can't tell you over the last 4 years how many sites have come to us because they launched with new technology and they killed their traffic because the technology was hard for a machine to understand. So be careful if you're rebuilding your website. This really didn't show up good. I like to say that the best sites for SEO look like they were made 10 years ago, 20 years ago. This is the best site ever, lingcars.com. You should go check it out. It's just awesome. It's not even well SEO'd. I just like showing it because it's so funny. It's crazy. Yeah, exactly. This is actually more like it. Like this is Yelp, and it's pretty simple. It's just a list of city links. And honestly, that's the right way to do it SEO-wise. List of city links. You click on the city, a list of categories. Click on a category, a list of businesses. That's it. It's really simple. You don't need all this extra stuff. Speed is important, and mobile usability. This is a client of ours, Real Data. They fixed their speed problem. You can see it was going about 10 seconds a page, and then they got it down to about 5.5 seconds a page. And a few weeks after that, they hit a sweet spot of a Google algorithm update, and their traffic went up. I don't know what the number is. It's like 25% or something, 20%. And we're pretty certain it was attributable to making that speed fix and making it more perform better on mobile. So if your site's slow, fix it. Remember I said that showed that Yelp page. Like creating internal links to other pages is the way you kind of rev up SEO. So this is a profile page on angieslist.com. Pretty simple. Little breadcrumb links up to the city that they're in, related category links. It's really simple. Typical web UI. That's not complicated. That kind of stuff helps. And then avoiding dead-end pages. Home Advisor had a lot of content pages. They spent a lot of time writing content, which is great, but it didn't link anywhere. It didn't link to, like, if this is about swimming pools, it didn't link to find the swimming pool repair person. And you've got to have these contextual links, and that's a signal to search engines. If you guys operate in different countries or different languages, we just did a big audit for Adobe for their stock photo site, and what we found was their site is so screwed up, they have so many different languages, but Google can't figure it out. So they're just showing the .com, the English version. So if you're in Germany and searching for Luftschlangen, which I think means streamers or something, you land on an English page written in English. but you wanted a German page. And because they haven't told Google, this is the German page and this is the English page. There's a way to do that. And so what's happening is their bounce rate on this is really high. People aren't buying because they can't read it. You have to fix that. The key, that didn't turn out well. The key to breaking your site, stop breaking your site. What happens is you create features. You forget to test, you forget to inform the SEO person. They forget to test them. You push them live, and then everything blows up. It happens every time. And even with companies we've been working with a long time, they always like, oh, didn't we tell you we were pushing something live tonight? No. And then we go and say, well, that's why the traffic's down, because you forgot to inform us to do simple things like stress test whatever you're doing and make sure you didn't break the SEO part. And if you launch a new feature like, I don't know, you break the login, you can fix that tomorrow and it's okay. If you break the SEO, it may take 3 to 6 months to recover. It's not like fixing a feature. It's like you have to make Google trust you all over again and understand you all over again, especially if you have a big site. We just worked with a big brand that did something like this, and it's been about 4 months. They fixed everything like within 2 weeks of breaking it, and it's just getting back to normal for 4 months after losing probably $5 million or something like that. And you should, once you've figured out how to maintain your SEO, you should always be testing. So as an example, I was talking to the head of SEO for Yelp a few weeks ago, and he told me just through simple testing of title tags, the words that show up in Google, the blue links, they were able to achieve a 30% increase in clicks from Google just by doing simple, like changing the words. And that's the easiest thing you can do. It costs like nothing to do. And just doing those simple things. I was talking to the head of SEO for International Hotel Group, told me the same thing. They can't get developers to do anything for them, so they just test title tags, and they achieved a significant jump in traffic and revenue. So you need to have a testing mentality. So the problem for directories is that content is really the critical part of SEO, having words on a page about something that someone's searching for. But directories are really limited in the type of content that they target. It's business name, it's the phone number, it's business name plus reviews, it's category and city. That's mostly, it's very narrow. It's very what we call bottom of the funnel. Like, I'm trying to find this thing. What do we call it? It's like navigational and directional, or there's some bullshit term for whatever that is. Yeah, exactly. So in SEO, you want to target the funnel, the full funnel. You want to get them at the top when they're just starting to think about the service, because someone else is going to get them before you are, if you're not, and start to pull them in. And if you're stuck down here at just trying to capture them when they're ready to hire someone, the odds that you're going to get them is very low, because that's where ads come in and everything. You want to get them up here. And this applies to every type of business. This is what we spend most of the time doing for clients, is helping them with this. How do we get you beyond the breaking your site to a proactive strategy to capture customers at all stages? Some examples of things, easy things to do. Cost guides. Cost guides are for local services, cost guides are the best content you could, like how much does it cost to install a heater or something? If you're in certain services like plastic surgery, before and after photos. We've worked on a plastic surgery sites before, it's gruesome, but people want to see before and after photos of rhinoplasty and things like that. Everyone's seen like sites like House, like idea galleries. What does my dream kitchen look like? Reviews, how-to content. All this stuff is what people do before they hire someone. And unfortunately, you can't just do it a little bit. This is a SEMrush traffic site for a startup called UpCounsel. That's like a find a lawyer site in the States. My estimate, they published 20,000 legal-focused articles in the last year and a half, 2 years. And you can see what happened with their traffic, Gesundheit. So you can't just do it a little bit, because you're competing against the entire world. The problem is that most of you guys don't have anything unique. This is your typical business profile page. The same data that everyone on the planet has. I have it. Your advertisers, like I said at the beginning, advertisers are just like consumers, except they're looking to consume your product, not the plumber or the dry cleaner or whatever. And they do these kinds of searches. How much does a website cost in Australia? How do I do SEO? Realtor marketing ideas. I'm a realtor, I need marketing ideas. This is a site that just launched a few weeks ago on Nextdoor. Nextdoor is a US-based talk to your neighbors kind of network. We help them with this strategy where they're basically publishing a ton of content at small businesses to help them kind of do social marketing. And what their hope is that over time they publish enough of it that this becomes a really cheap lead generation portal for their advertisers. And by the way, it's not just a way to get leads, it's a way to build trust. So I might read 50 articles on Nextdoor before I actually decide to advertise on Nextdoor. And so it's kind of like relationship marketing. And it's SEO, because the way this works is no one's coming here directly to read these things. They're searching in Google, and they find, I don't know, Halloween-themed deals or something, and they check it out. You need links from other sites. So as an example, I sometimes write for this publication called Search Engine Land. Surprise, surprise, it links right back to my site. So that helps me rank for things like local SEO ranking factors, which is good for me. I love this strategy. We've worked on a lot of Yellow Pages sites, and what we notice is they like to link to each other. So call up all your buddies, everyone here, let's all just make a deal right now and link to each other. Because these links actually help from other countries. They go, here's the Greek Yellow Pages over here. Really cheap thing to do. You all have relationships with your advertisers. Get links from their sites. Be careful though. What we see is it's very tempting to put links from all the sites you're building for people. They go right back to your website and say things like website developer or internet marketing, cheap internet marketing or something. And that works really well until Google slams you. And we've had several clients who've used that strategy and lost all their traffic overnight until they took all those links down. So you gotta be careful. If you have multiple sites, this is TripAdvisor's footer, link to your sister sites from your site. Very simple stuff, but we see that often. The funny thing with this Adobe stock photo thing, you know, Adobe has multiple divisions. Not one of them was linking to the stock photo division. And in fact, someone even wrote an article about best free stock photos, like a business help thing, and they didn't mention Adobe. And so look for that low-hanging fruit links. So does it work? This is a directory site we worked on in South America. As you can see, in 2018, it was tanking. They redesigned their site. And we came in around here, and we showed them this presentation and a couple other things. And now they're at record traffic over the last few years. And it's not because we're geniuses, it's because people aren't paying attention to this stuff. And it's a little detail oriented. And you have to kind of be deliberate about it. So what we like to think is that SEO is actually the only real, outside of your brand marketing, the only real visibility that your brand has. No one sees your ads, right? Maybe they see some Facebook posts you do once in a while. But SEO is really the one that stands out and helps build your brand and build awareness of you. Even if I don't know who you are, it's the kind of first step to me getting to know you by clicking on your link in Google. Because we're all avoiding the ads. We're all just looking for the content and the thing that makes the most sense. Like we like to say, SEO is always the lowest priority. We know we're the dumbest thing ever. But it's always the lowest priority until it's not. And the reason I got into SEO is because I had a startup called Insider Pages. Someone told me to do SEO. I had no idea what it was. We did SEO. We got millions of people. We raised $5 million from some of the biggest venture capitalists in the world. We redesigned our website. We lost all our traffic, and I lost my job.
And became an SEO.
And I became, by total accident. And so what we like to think is like, yeah, I know it's self-serving and it's whatever, but this stuff actually saves people's jobs and makes people money. And on that note, I will say thank you for listening.
Thanks, Andrew. So the $90,000 gig with Marchix, did you get their traffic back?
Yeah, but then what happened was we got the traffic back on yellow, but Google basically torched their entire zip code network. So there was no coming back from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not your fault.
Yeah.
Any questions for Andrew? Well, if you have SEO issues, you know where to find him.